The headmaster of the King Dragon Martial Arts School is who we have the pleasure of speaking with in this episode. With over 25 years' experience in the Indonesian martial arts, he seeks to draw attention to his beloved art of Pencak Silat in the most sincere of ways to showcase its effectiveness as a no-nonsense art for survival. Please welcome Guru Darren Felsot. How are you doing today, sir?
Ready to do this.
Thank you very much for being here, sir. I do appreciate every single second of your time that you've taken to speak with me right now. So let's go ahead and get straight into the interview right about now, sir. So first question for you, Guru, how did you start in the martial arts?
All right, so my story it's kind of peculiar. So it's probably off the beaten path a little bit. Some people are introduced to arts by their parents or siblings or so on and so forth. So basically how I came upon the art was, I'll scoot back a little bit. When we were kids, we used to think we were tough guys, and we used to buy like karate magazines and books and try to teach ourselves how to fight, and just, watching Bruce Lee films, and, we thought we had it. So fast forward, years have gone by. I was roughly 22 at the time, and I was had a big skateboarding background. And I went out one day and was skateboarding a very big half pipe that I would do all the time. So I ended up doing a trick that I had done thousands of times, and I happened to break my ankle. And it was a pretty serious break. I was living in Florida at the time. And so basically, I fast forward a little bit more. I was trying to heal my ankle on my own, and my folks lived in the outskirts of Detroit at the time. And I told them, hey, listen, I got to come back home. So I go back home, and I didn't have insurance. So I had to figure out a way to mend my break. I had to go through 2 surgeries, metal plates, the whole 9 yards. I did a pretty good job. And so one day I was going through this magazine. It was called the Metro Times. And I've always had an affinity towards like dragons and Indonesia. Grew up surfing culture. So that was like a big thing to me. So I came across this article, and it said The Secret Arts of the Dragon. And so I mulled it over for a minute. I was still trying to heal my ankle with, physical therapy wise. And I called up the number on this small little ad in this little news magazine. And I called up my first teacher, Guru Jeff Davidson. And I called him. I'm like, stupidly, I asked him, what's the secret art of the dragon? And he said, why don't you come in and I'll demonstrate for you. I give you an hour free lesson. It's kind of like an introductory lesson. So I told him what my handicaps were at the time. I told him I was, mending a broken ankle, and in the physical therapy stages, will Silat help me to regain flexibility, blah, blah, blah. I gave him the whole spiel as far as, what I was going through, and will I, benefit from this? And he told me, yeah, come on in, and we'll take it from there. So I went in there. He's a short, intense guy, long beard. He was obviously my first Panchak Silat teacher. And I go, I shake his hand, and he's, it's just kind of quick. He's like, listen, I want you to punch me as hard as you can. I was like, okay. I was like, wasn't really geared up for that one, but are you sure? So I wind up thinking I know how to actually throw a punch, and I punch him as hard as I can. And he just literally takes me down in 2 seconds flat. And I'm like, I get up, I'm like, oh my God. I was like, I've never experienced anything like that. So I was like, let me just try one more time. Can I teach you one more time? Did it again, boom, it takes me down, little sweep to the floor, blah, 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 finish move. And I'm like, okay, where do I sign, sir? And that was my journey into Pencak Silat.
Okay. So I was actually pronouncing it badly then. I'm sorry. You said Panchak?
Yes, sir. So the C is pronounced chak. So
Okay.
Panchak. Yep.
Oh, Pencak Silat. So, if you don't mind me asking, that's going to be a nice segue into my next question. What is Pencak Silat?
So there's many different definitions. Let's just call Pencak Silat a blanket term, right? So you have karate, you have multiple styles of karate, right? So Pencak Silat would be considered the same thing. It's an umbrella term for multiple hundreds of styles from different villages that each village has their interpretation of Panchak or Silat, depending on, so there's many different meanings for Pencak Silat. So you either have, just an example. So it's either Panchak means fluid movement, right? Or Panchak, or the Silat portion of it means the application of fighting. So you'll meet different teachers, different gurus, masters that have a different interpretation of Pencak Silat. So to break it down, the Pencak Silat in its functionality is a warrior art system developed for straight combat. Now, the other caveat is there's also sport forms of Pencak Silat. So they'll use it strictly for sport, where they're doing all these high fancy kicks and all this stuff where they think is going to work in the streets, but it's not, especially when you get an experienced fighter. So Pencak Silat, to me, is a full body system that is a warrior art that incorporates every part of your body as a weapon. My shoulders, my hips, my knees, my elbows, and on the other side of it is Pencak Silat. 10% of it is the fighting side of it, is the survival side of it. So you can look at the S in Silat as survival, sneaky, right? So to back it up a little bit, so the 10% is the fighting part of it, and the 90% of it is the metaphysical side of the art, meaning the development of your internal energy, what we call Tenaga Dalam, meaning inner dragon, also developing breathing exercises and holding your breath and breath work. So the weight is off. The metaphysical side is much higher than the physical side. Once you learn the physical side and you know how to incorporate your breath work with your energy and your strikes, then it just becomes a full kill system. So that would be my basic breakdown of it. I could go in for hours and talk about the whole background, the organizations, that run the Silat, right? So you have the IPSI, the Indonesian Ikatam Pencak Silat organization, right? They're the head honchos. They run it. And and then they have the sport branches and stuff from there. So that would be my basic breakdown of Pencak Silat. And one other term is real quick is, so Panchak is more of like Java, like West Java. The Javanese call it Panchak or Panchak, right? When you get into like the Minangkabau or like Sumatra, southern Sumatra, you now get into what they call it Silat. So in West Java, the Sundanese people, they call it Panchak. When you get into more of like the tiger styles and stuff like that in Sumatra, they call it Silat, right? So that's just like, but you have to have, you got to call it something. In America, if people just don't know, now it's starting to become a little bit more familiar with people. But, we got to call it Pencak Silat, and then whatever you teach from there is what you teach from there.
So question though, from what you just said, the what they practice in Java and what they practice in Sumatra, one you said is Panchak and one is Silat. Are they pretty much the same thing though?
Yes, they are the
just
same
called
thing.
Differently.
It's still Pencak Silat, right? Because you have to have if you don't have the Panchak, you can't have the Silat, because the Panchak is the fluidity. The silat is the technique, is this destruction part of it, the survival part of it, right? But if you don't have both, then you have no art, right? So, but in Sumatra, that's just what they refer to it as silat, in short, silat.
Okay, so it's just difference in terminology. That's all it is.
Correct.
It's just the same. It's the same thing, though. Okay. From your description, it sounds a lot like Chinese internal martial arts, like cultivating the chi and the energy that's within. Right. My question is like, like I know there is a Chinese influence in martial arts that goes into Southeast Asia and so on like that, right? Is Salat one of those arts that were influenced slightly from Chinese martial arts, or no?
So, Pencak Silat dates back roughly 7th century, the Harma period, right? So, in a lot of the texts and readings that I've done, the Chinese did move into Indonesia. There's a big Chinese population out there. So I believe, in my humble opinion, that yes, the Chinese did influence Pencak Silat as a whole, right? So also at the same time, you have like Kun Tao, right? Kun Tao is from Indonesia as well. It's a Chinese, the Chinese Kun Tao. And they do a lot of Pencak Silat as well. So I do believe that they had an influence on it. And it could date back to some of the Indian martial arts as well. Because India has had martial arts in their culture for hundreds of years. So, and if you look at some of there's some really good Indian martial artists, and you look at their movement, and you can see Panchak in there all day long. You can see how they move, and it's there, So I mean, you think about it, Pencak Silat is all over the place. It's in southern Philippines. It's in Vietnam. It's in Thailand, southern Thailand. So it's UK. I mean, it's all over the country now, but just Southeast. It's a Southeast Asian martial art. So all of those little islands and stuff, they're all in some little area. There's Pencak Silat. So hopefully that answered your question.
That was a great answer. Thank you very much. It answered it to a T. So my next question for you, Guru, what are some similarities or differences? You can choose which one you want to highlight between some styles that you've practiced, right, and what you're practicing and teaching today.
All right. So I've been fortunate to not have to search. Now, what I mean by that is I've had many different styles come train on me that they weren't happy with what they found, right? So in that area, I've been lucky. I was able to meet my first teacher, Guru Sar Jeff Davidson, right? And that was what I wanted to study. Now, at the same time, he also taught Kali, Filipino Kali, at the same time. So he was more of a Kali Silat school per se. So to answer your question, the only two arts that I've ever been exposed to was when I was a kid, which was just basic BS because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And yeah, I did a little bit. I left out. My dad took me into karate when I was a little kid, but I hated it. Just wasn't my thing. Just something about it just didn't, jive with my soul. So the similarities, I would say, between the two arts that I've been exposed to with Kali and Pencak Silat, I would say they're very, very similar in a lot of ways. They have I've been drawn more towards the Indonesian arts. There was just something that just captured my soul. The Kali system is super effective. There's a lot of threes that in the art, meaning like parry hit, strike, or parry cut thrust. There's lots where we have in Pencak Silat the same thing. We have threes, which I like to relate that to like our footwork or our triangle. There's always the three sides of the triangle where you have three sides of attacking opponent, right? It's the same thing. 3 ways to move in onto an opponent. So I would say Kali and Panchak are very similar. right? They go hand in hand together. You can take the knife work from Kali and incorporate the knife work from the Indonesian arts, and it just flows. I don't know, it just flows. Now I have seen like Kung Fu out there that looks like some of it is similar to Silat. I have not done any of it myself. I've seen some of, what else have I seen that looks a little similar? The Indian martial arts that I've seen, I don't know them off the top of my head because I'd like to stay focused on task, and that my task is Silat. And just to add that, if you pick up a stick like from Kali, right? Our stick stuff in the Indonesian arts is very similar at the same time. Maybe there's some different ways we hold the stick or the way we choke up on the stick, but you'll see a lot of similarities in the stick work that we do, the sword work, same thing. You'll see a lot of similarities. So,
all right. That's a great answer. Thank you very much. Now, going on from that second question, right? I do have to ask if Silat, seeing it as being a southeastern martial art, the way how I've seen it, and I'm very limited when it comes to Silat, right? I've noticed Silat is what I've seen is that it's very low to the ground. Would that be a result of the environment of where it comes from?
well, the Indonesian people are very small in stature to begin with. They're not like us Americans. We're just like, oh, stout. Now the high lows. So the Silat fights on 3 levels. You have high, middle, low. The low would be considered more of like our ground fighting and stuff, or from what like my system, like the tiger arts and stuff like that would be like from the ground, low, super low. But the whole reasoning for the low postures is you're rooted to the earth and you're using the energy from the earth to develop that power in your strikes. We also like to give these wide openings, right? To invite our attackers in on us it's almost like a spider web. Spider hops on, or the spider spawns its web, boom, 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 right? Little insect hops on that web, done. Spider does its thing because it opened up its web, and then lo and behold, boom.
Okay, so it's not just a training thing. So you actually teach that way to use it to fight that way in those low stances?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so my question is it a practical way of fighting?
So you're not always going to be in that low stance. Remember, it's all situational dependent. It depends on what type of environment you're in. If I'm in an environment where it's super slippery, that might not be my choice, right? But yeah, in actuality, being low to the ground enables me to do what I need to do as far as, let's face it, most fights, 90% of fights are going to end up on the ground. So if I can destroy the lower half of the body from this low position, right, where I'm giving him that opportunity to come in and get me, because it looks like, 1, I'm off balance. 2, it looks like I'm giving him every opening in the world, which in actuality, I'm doing all that on purpose. Remember, the essence Silat, sneaky. So I want to draw my opponent in, right? And that enables me to get these quick takedowns or leg sweeps or destructions of the leg with my shins, and so on and so forth. So yes, I do teach that. I teach every aspect that I've been taught, which is being low.
That is absolutely awesome. That is absolutely awesome. So brings me into my next segueing into my next question. What is the benefit of practicing Silat?
The benefits of practicing Silat: mental clarity, mental strength, longevity, and being able to protect yourself in any situation. So we teach to fight 3 opponents at once, and we want to envision these opponents or imagine these opponents that they're all armed. They have weapons, they have knives, whatever it may be. So I think that in our way of teaching and our philosophy and so on and so forth, it gives you the confidence to be able to protect yourself with mind, body, and spirit in any godforsaken situation. And, you know, to my whole thing is, I'm not teaching you how to kill people. Yes, I mean, I'm teaching you how to kill people, but that's not what it's about. That's not what it's about, right? It's about that just knowing who you are, knowing your body from head to toe, from inside out, right? So that would be my answer to that.
Awesome. Whole body benefit from head to toe. So let's go ahead and move straight into the next question there, Guru. Right? What is the hardest part of developing Silat to a high level?
I would say that dedication is one. Dedication and being open-hearted to it, having an open heart. You have to be able to see everything with an open heart and an open mind. And if you can dedicate yourself with an open heart, open mind, coupled with dedication and reps, thousands of reps, then you can obtain a high level in the art. The other side of it is people are not cut. Like, how long have you been training in your art for?
Tai Chi, I've been in Tai Chi since 2005.
Okay, so you have some years in there. So you have what I call dedication. You have you committed to something and you've made it a lifelong journey. So with Silat, it is the same exact thing. This isn't, I don't just do this for shits and giggles, excuse my French. I do this because this is my lifelong journey. This is how I develop myself. Everybody doesn't have that. So you and I are like-minded. I'll get guys in. The reason why people don't obtain high levels in this system is, one, they don't commit themselves, right? Two, they expect to learn overnight without putting the dedication and reps in. And three, this art will take you to a certain point and chew you up and spit you out. So if you're not ready to advance into those next levels, the art will tell you you're not ready to advance into these next levels. There's an old saying in the system, you don't find the art. I didn't just happen to like just scroll through those pages in the Metro Times and be like, oh, wow, man, cool. This is the secret art of the dragon. No, the art finds you. The art found me. And those are the people that last in the system. So I have guys that have been training me for 15 plus years. So.
Number one thing, dedication. I am so on board with that answer, sir. That is a great answer. All right, so going into our fourth question. If you could teach the new generation of martial artists only one thing, a technique or a philosophy, either or both, what would it be?
Philosophy is easy to me. Be humble. Be humble and walk away if you can. If you can't, then serve them a gift. That's it. As far as techniques go, there's so many techniques that are just devastating. I would give maybe one technique where it would be called maybe the backhand speed punch. All right, that's one of our hits are very different in this art. They come from different directions. They're indirect. You never know where they're coming from. And the art is so fluid that it's just almost like a rainstorm. It rains and then thunder strikes. So when I'm talking about the backhand speed punch, it's quick. It comes from nowhere. That's it. That quick. Right? That would be considered a backhand speed punch where it comes out and back. And it can come from any position that I'm in. It could be from here, it could be from here where I'm just sitting and relaxed. And it just strikes. And what it does is the first initial strike breaks the cheekbone. the twisting motion is breaking the nose. So you're getting what I call, you go to the dollar store, you get 2 for 1. I'm calling that the 2 for 1 deal. And if it's done right and it's repped out, like I said, repped out thousands of times, it is very, very effective. It's one of our most powerful punches. So I just gave my secret away to the art. The backhand.
The backhand speed punch. That's a really great technique. And to be honest, it really is very speedy, because honestly, I couldn't see if you didn't show me that this is what you were doing,
yep,
I couldn't see that. I would just see this.
If you're standing still, it comes out. And you can see when I come back, now I'm open. So everything is always open to close as I strike. So I can parry whatever I want, grab what we call parries. It's basically block whatever I want. And you never know where these strikes are coming from, because I have this beautiful, continuous, deadly flow at all times. And you never know where my timing's off. It's just, you never know. I'm not going to just be like, set you up with all my timing. You see the movement in my shoulder, exactly when I'm going to punch, right? That's where we call that like telegraphing, or I could see just from that one simple movement in your shoulder, I know you're going to throw something, or that could be the fake, right? So, and I didn't really get into too much detail in like, what our art does. I just talked simply about, what Pencak Silat is as like a blanket, So, I mean, I can, tell you a little bit about our system.
Sure, please.
So, my first teacher was Guru Jeff Davidson, right? And from there, somebody can only bring you so far in your art as far as teacher-wise. Sometimes they don't do it for you in certain aspects, or they're not fulfilling certain stuff that you agree with or whatever. So I trained under Guru Davidson for about 5 or 6 years. I became a guru in 5 years. And from there, I went to our head teacher, Conductor William Sanders. And he's who I actually spent a majority of my Silat training with, for the most part. And from there, it blossomed off, and I went training with some of the top students like Guru Jerry Jacobs, with PCK, and also, now I'm just like I'm a lone birdie right now. I'm a lone wolf. I'm hungry to learn. So my whole thing now is, I train with Chep in Indonesia. That guy from is just amazing. He was in the Raid, or not, what was it? The John Wick movies. Have you seen a John Wick movie? Did you see the fight scene?
Yeah, those are great movies.
I mean, yeah, with the Karambit. I mean, that guy's just amazing. So we have a lot of stuff that he does that we do in our art. He's answered a lot of questions for us. But basically, our system is based off of like several different styles that were created from the creator Mbaka here, who lived during the 1700s. So Chamandi being like one of the main influences, and Chamandi means like flowing water. It was developed from, it was named after that river in West Java and Bogor, near Bogor. So the Chamandi arts, our system is almost like a synthesis of the best Silat that I could find, or that my teachers ahead of me found. All I'm doing is everything that I've learned from Conductor Sanders. He was the innovator of the art. He all the movement that I get, everything, this is all from Conductor Sanders. I just honed it to my level now because I've been doing it for so long, and it's become who I am now. Basically, the body of the light took over, and that's it. I don't need to think about it anymore. But I owe it to him, obviously. So we have Chamandi, we have Chika Long movements in our art. We have Sarah. All these are just from like were developed from Mbaka here back in the 1700s, but then they were also from different villages, had their own interpretation of the arts, and then basically over time, these different interpretations or fundamentals came to us. So now that's all I do is I do everything that I learned from the old school days. I've never changed. It's what I was originally taught. And I also, would go, when I went to Indonesia to train, I was able to train with some top Shamandi guys like FeiYue, one of my other teachers out there, one of my other gurus. One of the hardest individuals I've ever came across. His arms are like steel because our conditioning, we condition every part of our body: forearms, shoulders, shins, knees, elbows, right? Every part of our body becomes, we want it to be steel. So when we hit something in Shamandi, we break it. If we don't just, go to do a block, we'll actually break that, whatever comes in us, if it's a punch or a kick or whatever, that's our main goal, is break. So then we have a bunch of animal movements that were incorporated into the art: monkey, tiger, snake, crane. I'm not going to go into the Indonesian terminology of each one because then we'll be here for days. But and then we have the king dragon, or the Raja Naga, which is the synthesis of all those animals. That's the highest level in my system you can get to, is the Raja Naga level. And that's being able to literally draw in all these animals and move around them, because each animal has its own fighting techniques. So if the monkey has its own, it's very evasive, a lot of high-low movements, right? Then the snake would be more of this tight in close quarters, striking darty strikes and coming from all these different areas, with the wrapping python moves for breaks and stuff like that. Then if you're talking about the tiger, where you brought up that one question of will being low to the ground effectively work in a real street fight? Hell yeah, it will. 100%. Obviously, practitioner, it's all about the practitioner. If you're a good practitioner, I don't care what system you do, you can take somebody out in 2 seconds. So if you're a good practitioner in Silat, you're deadly. But the tiger movements are very low, and lots of grabbing, lots of low movement here, and just nasty tears, ripping, eye gouges, low sweeping kicks, biting. I mean, you name it, we do it. And then the crane, which would be the very airy type of movement. Lots of like one-footed jumps, lots of breaks, lots of elbows, knees, a lot of different little spinning kicks. We don't do a lot of high kicks at all. Well, our kicks are all below the waist. So I believe that it's a little bit more effective that way, a little bit more sneaky. The only time I'm going to kick somebody in the face is if they're on the ground. I'm not going to try to attack somebody with a kick that's standing already, because I don't want to get killed. So we keep it simple, below the waist. That's our target area. And then the dragon encompasses everything. It's just one ferocious deal. And that's just the gist of it. And we also do the internal training in our art, where we're doing lots of breathing, lots of meditation, a lot of breath work, and lots of footwork. We have a lot of diagrams that we do on the footwork, and like triangle footwork, square footwork, U pattern footwork. So there's just, because if you don't have footwork in your art, you don't have anything, unfortunately. So there's a beautiful amount of footwork, and that's just a basic taste of what we did, and all the weapons on top of that. We do karambit, we do the golak, the machete, the longsword, the padong, the sticks, the trumbu, which is another system that was developed by Mbaka here, which is our longer stick that we have. And then, basically we're taught to be able to pick up any object, whether it be a pen, CD case, a rock, and be able to use that as a weapon. So everything I do empty hands, meaning if I'm doing this, say I'm doing this movement here, or the backhand speed punch, would be if I had my blade in my hand, there's my cut. Or coming out this way, there's my cut with the blade. So everything that we do empty hands translate into the weapon. So that's just a basic rundown of it.
I'm glad that you actually went into a little bit about Silat and what it's like.
I can actually get up and do a little something if you like.
Sure, if you'd like to, because like when you're talking about the low movements, and and I had to ask though, right, in terms of the movements, right?
Sure.
I've seen some of your video, and in your movements, I see like there would be a lot of locks, right?
Yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of
So
yeah.
yeah. So I'll give you my take on locks. All right. Like you look like a pretty big guy. There's no way in hell I'm going to try putting you in a lock, fresh body like you. There's no way in hell. You'll get out of it, you'll counter me, and I'll waste all that energy trying to lock you up. So what we do in this system, we're always striking the limbs. Everything is over striking. We're beating down the limbs, right? My whole idea is to make sure that if you have a fresh punch, that I take that arm and I think of it as like, you ever seen the bait guys where they put the bait in those grinders and they grind up all that meat that just falls out the backside?
Yeah.
I forgot what it's called. But that's what we're doing. We're pulverizing the limbs. Now, if I pulverize the limbs of my opponent, now I'd feel a little bit more comfortable performing a lock. I will not put a fresh soul in a lock if you even paid me to do it. Because there's no, especially if you get some of these big guys. What do I want to do that for? So, and then the other caveat is our whole deal is we're moving in as close as we can to our opponent to take their space, so we can barrage them with just knees, elbows, headbutts, you name it. My whole idea is to make you uncomfortable and turn your back. If you turn your back, it's game over. So that would be my take on the locks. We do have a ton of locks, but we don't call them locks. We call them joint destruction. So my whole thing is, if I get you in a lock, I'm not just going to stop it here. I'm going to break it, whether it's on my arm, my leg, right? Or if I take you over my shoulder and I'm here and I pop it up, right? Or if I take you over my knee and I break it this way, I'm not going to waste my time locking. I'm going to break. So obviously in this day and age, we don't want to be going to jail, and we all have, stuff to do and careers and stuff like that. So I'm going to, when I teach my students, we have what we call lock flow, where we go through a different series of locks and so on and so forth, because it's something good to know. If you're a bouncer, same thing. I mean, you need to know how to get somebody, a drunk guy that, is starting to throw bottles at people, and get them in a lock and get them out of the club appropriately. Same with police officers, same deal. You need to be able to lock up these guys and be able to get them out safely, not have to worry about getting sued. But the whole end game with locks, and it's our life on the line, those locks now turn into breaks.
No, that's absolutely great. Thank you for your demonstration. That makes absolute sense. So
one more demonstration. When I was talking about some of our weapons that we utilize, so this would be what we call a Padong, right? So this is something that is, I could go super fast with this, but there's really no reason to, because I want to show you what it's all about.
that's awesome.
When we're talking about that low movement, this would be here. So,
Question: Is that double edged, or is single blade?
No.
Single edge.
Single edge.
Oh, just like a machete.
Yep. Well, and then our machetes would be more of like,
Yeah.
our machete. And this is more like a hacking weapon, where we're able to hack right to the bone and pull it back. So you've noticed, like, when I was talking about that backhand speed punch earlier, right? Same thing here. I'm here.
Oh, wow.
Right? Just a simple movement that you learn empty-handed pertains to the golok or the machete. Same thing with I have a karambit, same thing, same movement. So
everything empty-handed can translate to weapons, and everything weapons can translate empty-handed. That's
yes, sir.
awesome. That's awesome. Thank you very much for that demonstration, Guru Darren. That is great. That is great. Now, if anybody who's interested in learning what you have just demonstrated, I have a question for you. How can you be contacted?
Excuse me. So you can call me on my phone, 561-459-0927. I also do live group classes via Zoom. I have some of my students that are not living around here anymore that actually, train with me via Zoom, and I'll do like some live classes with them. You can reach me on email, Guru, GURUDRF@gmail.com, or you can go to Facebook and go to King Dragon Martial Arts School. Just type that in and I'll pop up. I have a ton of videos on there. And that'd be pretty much so it. Phone, email, Facebook. You can call me anytime you want. I love to talk shop, and I love to learn too. I don't know everything, and I'm still a student of the craft. So that's it. Every day I'm learning. My students teach me every single day. It's that once you get to a certain point in the arts, you got to keep growing. The only way to grow is your students teaching.
I absolutely admire that about you already, sir. Right? You to keep the student's mind. That is great. That is absolutely great. Of course, information for Guru Darren will be in the description below. Also, in the description below will be a link for FeiYue shoes. If you need FeiYue shoes, go ahead, click the link in the description below for the best prices, the best deals, all at FeiYue shoes. Guru Darren, I want to thank you very much for the time that you've taken to speak with me today. I much appreciate it. You have educated me on Pencak Silat, and I thank you so much for it.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, sir. Thank you.